The camera opens on the sprawling chaos of Denver International Airport at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. Travelers rush past in all directions, dragging oversized suitcases and clutching boarding passes like lifelines. The automated announcements echo through the terminal in that familiar impersonal tone that every frequent flyer knows by heart. Harper Martinez stands at the departure board, her auburn hair catching the harsh fluorescent light as she squints up at the scrolling information. Her worn leather backpack hangs off one shoulder, stuffed with art supplies and a sketchbook that's seen better days. At 26, Harper carries herself with the restless energy of someone who's always looking for the next adventure, but today that energy feels more like barely contained anxiety. Harper mutters under her breath as she spots her flight information. Phoenix, Gate A23, on time, for now. She checks her phone, a cracked iPhone that's held together with determination and a clear case covered in paint splatters. 3 missed calls from her sister Maya, 2 texts asking
if you enjoy the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as that greatly helps the channel.
She's really going through with this crazy plan, and 1 voicemail she's not ready to listen to yet. The truth is, Harper isn't entirely sure what she's doing either. 3 weeks ago, she was living in a converted warehouse in Portland with her ex-girlfriend Jessica, working on a series of paintings for what was supposed to be her first solo gallery show. Then came the fight that ended it all, not just the relationship, but the show, the shared studio space, and most of Harper's confidence in her own artistic vision. Harper says to herself, new city, new start. That's what people do, right? She shoulders her backpack and starts walking towards security, but her phone buzzes with another text from Maya. Mom's worried. Call us when you land. Love you, you stubborn artist. Harper smiles despite herself. Maya always knew exactly what to say. She types back quickly, will do. Tell Mom I'm fine. Portland wasn't working anyway. It's not entirely true, but it's easier than explaining that she's running towards something she can't name rather than away from something she can. The security line moves with typical airport efficiency, which is to say, not at all. Harper finds herself behind a family with 3 young children who seem to have packed their entire house in carry-on bags. The parents look frazzled, the kids are getting restless, and Harper can't help but sketch the scene in her mind, the way the mother's shoulders curve with exhaustion, how the father keeps checking his watch with increasing desperation. Harper pulls out her sketchbook and starts drawing, losing herself in the familiar rhythm of pencil on paper. She's always been better at capturing emotions than expressing them directly. The drawing takes shape, not just the family, but the entire security checkpoint, the controlled chaos of people in transition, all of them carrying invisible baggage along with their actual luggage. That's really good, comes a voice behind her. Harper turns to see an elderly man with kind eyes and a cardigan that's seen better decades. You've got the mother's posture exactly right. That's the look of someone who's been traveling with children for approximately 4 hours too long. Harper laughs, the first genuine laugh she's had in weeks. Thanks. I'm Harper. Stanley, the man replies, extending a weathered hand. Are you an artist by trade, or just gifted with exceptional observation skills? Both, I hope, Harper says, closing her sketchbook. Though lately I'm not sure about either. Stanley nods with the wisdom of someone who's lived through enough uncertainty to recognize it in others. Ah, one of those crossroads moments. I've had a few of those myself. The trick is remembering that being lost is just another word for being between destinations. Before Harper can respond, the line lurches forward and Stanley is swept along with the crowd. But his words stick with her as she makes her way through security, past the endless chain restaurants and overpriced airport shops, toward Gate A23. Meanwhile, across the terminal at Gate B15, Zara Chen sits in a coffee shop that's trying too hard to be trendy, nursing a latte that costs more than some people's lunch. At 28, Zara has the kind of composed presence that makes people assume she has her life figured out. Her long dark hair is pulled back in a professional bun, and she's wearing a blazer that probably cost more than Harper's entire wardrobe, but there's something in her dark brown eyes that suggests the composure is more performance than reality. Zara stares at her laptop screen, cursor blinking mockingly at the top of a blank document titled Resignation Letter, Draft 47. She's been trying to write this letter for 3 months, ever since she realized that her high-paying job at a tech startup in Seattle was slowly killing her soul. The irony isn't lost on her. She's a user experience designer who's forgotten what it feels like to experience joy. Her phone lights up with a text from her best friend and roommate, Alex. Did you do it yet? Did you finally tell them you're quitting to pursue your photography dreams? Zara types back, working on it. It's harder than I thought. Alex responds immediately, "You've been working on it since March. Just rip the band-aid off. You have enough savings to last 6 months, and your portfolio is incredible. What's the worst that could happen?" Zara knows what the worst is. It's not failure, it's the voice in her head that sounds suspiciously like her ex-partner David, who spent 2 years systematically convincing her that her artistic ambitions were cute hobbies, rather than legitimate career paths. Even though she ended that relationship 8 months ago, his voice still echoes in moments of doubt. She closes the laptop and checks her boarding pass. Her flight to Phoenix doesn't leave for another 3 hours, but she'd rather be here than in her sterile apartment, surrounded by the remnants of a life that feels increasingly like it belongs to someone else. Zara decides to walk around the terminal, camera in hand. She's always found airports fascinating, these liminal spaces where everyone is between one life and another, carrying their stories and hopes and fears in matching black suitcases. She starts photographing details, the way afternoon light streams through the massive windows, the patterns created by travelers' shadows, the quiet moments of solitude in the midst of chaos. Through her camera lens, she spots a young woman with auburn hair sketching in a notebook, completely absorbed in her work. There's something about the intensity of her focus, the way she seems to be capturing not just what she sees but what she feels, that makes Zara pause and take a photo. Not of the woman directly, she's not that kind of photographer, but of the scene around her, the way the light falls across her table, the story being told in negative space. By 6 p.m., the airport has shifted into its evening rhythm. The business travelers are rushing to catch flights home, while leisure travelers settle in for red-eye departures. Harper has found a spot near her gate with a decent view of the tarmac, where she can watch planes taxi back and forth like oversized beetles against the backdrop of the setting sun. She's been sketching steadily for the past hour, filling page after page with airport scenes. There's something soothing about the repetitive motion, the way her hand moves across the paper without conscious thought. She's drawn the family from security, now happily boarding their flight, a businessman who's been pacing and making phone calls for 20 minutes, and a couple saying goodbye with the kind of desperation that suggests a long-distance relationship. Harper's phone buzzes with a weather alert, severe thunderstorm warning issued for Denver metro area. Possible flight delays and cancellations. She looks up to see dark clouds gathering on the horizon, the kind of storm front that looks like it means business. Sure enough, 15 minutes later, the gate agent makes the announcement everyone's been dreading. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to inform you that Flight 1847 to Phoenix has been delayed due to incoming severe weather. We'll update you with more information as it becomes available." A collective groan rises from the assembled passengers. Harper checks her phone again. The storm is supposed to last for hours, possibly into the night. She texts Maya, "Flight delayed. Might be here a while. Don't wait up." Maya texts back immediately, "Want me to call you? You don't have to face a storm alone, even if it's just weather." Harper starts to type "I'm fine," but deletes it. Instead she writes, "I'm okay. Actually kind of nice to have a pause before everything changes. I'll call you tomorrow." As if summoned by her moment of acceptance, the sky opens up. Rain begins pelting the windows with increasing intensity, and within minutes, it's a full downpour. Lightning illuminates the tarmac in stark, brief flashes, followed by thunder that rattles the terminal windows. Harper finds herself oddly comforted by the storm's drama. There's something about weather this intense that makes human problems feel smaller, more manageable. She's not responsible for controlling this delay, which means she doesn't have to feel guilty about the unexpected reprieve from her uncertain future. Zara is in the middle of editing photos on her laptop when the first delay announcement comes through. She's been documenting the subtle changes in the terminal as day shifts to evening, the way the light changes, how people's body language reflects their growing fatigue, the small dramas that play out when travel plans go awry. When the storm hits in earnest, she finds herself drawn to the windows. Rain streams down the glass in intricate patterns, distorting the lights on the tarmac into impressionistic smears of color. She starts photographing the rain itself, experimenting with different angles and exposures to capture the way water transforms the familiar airport landscape into something ethereal. "That's a beautiful shot," comes a voice behind her. Zara turns to see Harper approaching, sketchbook tucked under her arm and a genuine smile on her face. "I was watching you work. You have this way of finding art in places most people just see as functional." Zara feels a flush of warmth at the compliment. "Thanks. I noticed you sketching earlier. I love how absorbed you get in your work. It's like you're seeing multiple layers of reality at once." Harper laughs, a sound that cuts through the storm's noise in a way that makes Zara's heart skip slightly. That's the nicest way anyone's ever described my tendency to zone out. I'm Harper, by the way. Zara, she replies, extending her hand. When their fingers touch, there's a moment of connection that feels electric in a way that has nothing to do with the lightning outside. They stand there for a moment, hands still clasped, both seemingly surprised by the intensity of the contact. Harper is the first to speak, her voice slightly breathless. So, what takes you to Phoenix? Zara hesitates, then decides on honesty. I'm not entirely sure. I quit my job today. Well, I finally submitted my resignation letter about an hour ago, and I have a friend there who said I could stay with her while I figure out what's next. What about you? Similar story actually, Harper says, settling into a nearby chair and gesturing for Zara to join her. I'm fleeing the wreckage of my life in Portland. Relationship ended, art career imploded, lease expired. Phoenix seemed like a good place to start over. What kind of art do you do? Zara asks, genuinely curious. Harper opens her sketchbook, suddenly shy. Mostly mixed media, some painting. I was working on this series about urban loneliness, people in cities who are surrounded by others but still isolated. Turns out I was more isolated than I realized. She shows Zara a few recent sketches, including some from today. Zara is struck by the emotional depth in Harper's work, the way she captures not just physical features but psychological states. These are incredible, Zara says, studying a drawing of a woman waiting at a bus stop, surrounded by people but clearly alone in her own world. You have this gift for showing people's inner lives. What happened with your career? Harper closes the sketchbook, but not defensively. I was supposed to have my first solo show, but my ex and I were collaborating on it, and when we broke up, she decided the gallery should choose between us. Guess who they chose? Her. Turns out having an MFA from a prestigious art school trumps raw talent and 3 years of relationship history. Harper's voice carries pain but also a growing sense of perspective. But maybe it's for the best. I was so focused on external validation that I'd forgotten why I started making art in the first place. Zara nods, understanding completely. I spent 2 years at a job designing apps I couldn't care less about, working for people who treated creativity like a commodity. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that I was building skills and saving money to pursue photography seriously. But temporary has a way of becoming permanent if you're not careful. What kind of photography do you love? Harper asks. Zara's face lights up. People, mostly. But not posed portraits. I'm interested in authentic moments, the spaces between the public face and the private self. Like this storm, she gestures toward the rain-soaked windows. Everyone's travel plans are disrupted, their usual routines thrown off, and suddenly you see who they really are underneath the traveler persona. As if to illustrate her point, a businessman at the next gate throws his phone down in frustration, then immediately looks around embarrassed to see if anyone noticed. A mother with 2 small children starts laughing instead of crying when her toddler spills juice all over her white shirt. An elderly couple holds hands while watching the storm, completely content to wait it out together. See what I mean? Zara says. Crisis strips away pretense. Harper looks around with new eyes, seeing the terminal through Zara's perspective. That's what I love about drawing people, you get to witness these tiny, honest moments. Like right now, she says, starting to sketch quickly, you're explaining something you're passionate about, and your whole face changes. You stop being careful and start being real. Zara feels exposed and flattered simultaneously. Can I see? Harper shows her the sketch, just a few quick lines, but they capture something essential about Zara's enthusiasm, the way her eyes light up when she talks about her work. That's how you see me? Zara asks, voice soft. That's how you are, Harper replies. At least, that's how you are when you're talking about something you love. They sit in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the storm continue its assault on the terminal. The delay announcements have stopped coming, it's clear they're going to be here for a while. Want to explore? Harper suggests. I mean, we're stuck here anyway, and I've never had a chance to really examine an airport as an artistic subject. Zara grins, picking up her camera. Lead the way. What follows is an hour of discovery that neither of them expected. They wander through the terminal like explorers in a strange land, Harper sketching and Zara photographing, but mostly just talking. They discover they both love old movies, especially the ones from the 1940s where everyone speaks in perfectly crafted dialogue. They both prefer coffee to tea but drink tea when they're stressed. They both have complicated relationships with their families. Harper's parents want her to get a real job, while Zara's parents can't understand why she left a lucrative career to pursue something as unpredictable as art. They find themselves in the terminal's chapel, a small, non-denominational space designed for travelers who need a moment of peace. It's empty except for them, lit by soft, warm light that feels like a sanctuary from the harsh fluorescence elsewhere. I used to think I needed to have everything figured out, Zara says, sitting in one of the simple wooden chairs. Perfect plan, perfect timeline, perfect execution. But lately, I'm starting to think maybe the uncertainty is the point. Harper settles beside her, close enough that their shoulders almost touch. My sister Maya always says that life is like drawing. You can't erase your way to perfection, you just have to keep adding lines until the picture makes sense. Smart sister. The smartest. She's the one who convinced me to leave Portland. Said I was treating my life like a rough draft instead of the real thing. Zara turns to look at her, struck by the honesty in Harper's voice. What made you finally listen? Harper considers the question carefully. I realized I was more afraid of staying stuck than I was of starting over. Fear of failure had become more powerful than desire for success, and that's when you know you've lost the plot. I know that feeling, Zara says. I spent so long trying to be the person I thought I should be that I forgot who I actually was underneath all those expectations. They're sitting closer now, the conversation drawing them together in the intimate space. Harper can smell Zara's perfume, something light and floral that somehow suits her perfectly. Zara notices the way Harper's hands move when she talks, expressive and graceful, like she's sculpting words out of air. Can I ask you something? Harper says, voice dropping to almost a whisper. Anything. Are you scared? About Phoenix, about leaving everything behind. Zara nods slowly. Terrified. But also, excited? Like maybe this is what being alive is supposed to feel like, scary and thrilling and completely uncertain. Harper reaches over and takes Zara's hand, a gesture that feels both bold and completely natural. I'm scared too. But sitting here with you, talking about real things instead of just getting through another day. I'd forgotten how good it feels to connect with someone. Their eyes meet, and something shifts in the air between them. It's not just attraction, though that's certainly part of it. It's recognition, the rare experience of seeing yourself reflected in another person's story, of feeling understood without having to explain yourself. Harper, Zara says, voice catching slightly. Yeah. I'm really glad our flights got delayed. Harper laughs, the sound echoing softly in the small space. Best storm ever. By 10 p.m., the terminal has taken on a different character entirely. Most of the day travelers have either caught rescheduled flights or given up and gone home. The remaining passengers have the weary, slightly giddy demeanor of people who've been thrown together by circumstances beyond their control. The harsh fluorescent lights have been dimmed in many areas, creating pockets of softer illumination. Harper and Zara have claimed a corner near Harper's original gate, surrounded by their accumulated belongings, sketchbooks, camera equipment, coffee cups, and the remnants of overpriced airport sandwiches. They've been talking for hours, the conversation flowing with the easy intimacy of old friends, but charged with the electricity of new attraction. Okay, confession time, Harper says, tucking her legs under her in the uncomfortable airport chair. I stalked your Instagram before I came over to talk to you. Zara raises an eyebrow, amused. Oh really? What did you find? Amazing photography, for one thing. But also, you seem to have a thing for photographing empty spaces, vacant lots, abandoned buildings, lonely bus stops. There's something beautiful and melancholy about all of it. Zara nods, pleased that Harper understood her aesthetic. I'm drawn to places that are between purposes, you know? A building that used to be a restaurant but hasn't become anything else yet. A park at dawn before anyone's there to use it. There's something honest about emptiness. That's exactly why I love drawing in airports, Harper says. Everyone's in transition, between one version of themselves and another. Nobody's performing their regular life. Is that what you're doing? Transitioning between versions of yourself. Harper considers this. Maybe. In Portland, I was Harper the girlfriend and Harper the emerging artist. Both of those identities got pretty tangled up with other people's expectations. I guess I'm trying to figure out who Harper is when she's just Harper. And what have you discovered so far? That I'm braver than I thought. That I actually like being alone with my thoughts, as long as I don't have to be alone with them all the time. and that I'm capable of having a conversation with a beautiful stranger without completely embarrassing myself. Zara feels heat rise in her cheeks at the compliment. You think I'm beautiful? Harper meets her eyes directly. I think you're stunning. Inside and out. The way you look at the world, the way you talk about your work, the way you've been so genuinely interested in my stories even though we just met, yeah, I think you're beautiful. The honesty hangs between them, bold and vulnerable. Zara reaches over and touches Harper's hand, fingers intertwining naturally. I think you're beautiful too, she says softly. And not just aesthetically, though you definitely are that. But you have this way of being completely present in conversations, like you're really listening instead of just waiting for your turn to talk. That's rare. They sit in the growing intimacy of the moment, hands clasped, the storm still raging outside but feeling distant now. The terminal around them continues its quiet bustle, but they've created their own bubble of connection. Zara, Harper says, voice slightly uncertain. Yeah. I know we just met, and I know this is probably crazy, but I feel like I've been waiting to meet you without knowing I was waiting. Zara's breath catches. What do you mean? I mean, I've been so focused on what I was leaving behind that I didn't think about what I might be moving toward. But sitting here with you, I'm starting to think maybe the universe delayed our flights for a reason. You believe in that kind of thing? Fate. Harper shrugs, smiling. I believe in paying attention when something feels right. And this, she gestures between them, feels right in a way I wasn't expecting. Zara feels a flutter of something that might be hope mixed with terror. It does feel right. But also terrifying. I mean, we're both in the middle of completely upending our lives. Is this the worst possible timing, or the best? Maybe both, Harper says. Maybe that's what makes it interesting. Before Zara can respond, a new announcement crackles through the terminal. Attention passengers, due to continuing severe weather conditions, all remaining flights have been cancelled until tomorrow morning. The airline will provide hotel vouchers for displaced passengers. Please proceed to the customer service desk. They look at each other, then burst into laughter. Well, Zara says, I guess the universe really wants us to spend more time together. Hotel vouchers, Harper muses. That's either very convenient or very dangerous. Why dangerous? Harper meets her eyes, the attraction between them now impossible to ignore. Because I'm already having trouble keeping my hands to myself, and we've been sitting in public for the past 4 hours. Zara feels a jolt of electricity at the admission. Who says you have to keep your hands to yourself? The question hangs in the air between them, loaded with possibility and promise. An hour later, they're standing in the lobby of an airport hotel that's clearly used to accommodating stranded travelers. The decor is aggressively beige, the kind of neutral that's supposed to be calming but mostly just feels like being inside a cardboard box. But Harper and Zara barely notice their surroundings. They're too focused on each other and the decision they're about to make. So, Harper says, fidgeting with her room keycard, we could get separate rooms. Be responsible adults who met 6 hours ago and are dealing with major life transitions. We could, Zara agrees, though she makes no move toward the elevators. Or, Harper continues, stepping closer, we could acknowledge that sometimes the most responsible thing you can do is listen to what your heart is telling you, even if it doesn't make logical sense. Zara reaches up and touches Harper's face gently, thumb tracing the line of her cheekbone. What is your heart telling you? That I haven't felt this connected to someone in years. That I want to spend whatever time we have really getting to know you. That I'm tired of being careful and missing out on beautiful things because they might not last forever. And if this is just a delayed flight romance? If we wake up tomorrow and realize we were just caught up in the drama of the storm? Harper covers Zara's hand with her own, pressing it against her cheek. Then we'll have had one perfect night of being completely honest with each other. That's more than most people get. Zara feels her resistance melting away. There's something about Harper's combination of vulnerability and confidence that makes her want to take risks she's never taken before. Okay, she says, voice barely above a whisper. But I should probably warn you, I'm not usually this impulsive. Harper grins, taking Zara's other hand. Good thing I'm impulsive enough for both of us. They ride the elevator to the 7th floor in charged silence, hyper-aware of every point of contact between them. When the doors open, they walk down the hallway together, stopping at room 714. Harper slides the keycard, and the door opens to reveal a standard hotel room that somehow feels full of possibility. Queen bed, generic artwork, view of the parking lot, but none of that matters because they're here together, and the outside world has been temporarily suspended. I can't believe I'm doing this, Zara says, setting down her camera bag. Having second thoughts? Hopper asks, though there's no pressure in her voice, just genuine concern. No, Zara says firmly. Just acknowledging that this is completely outside my normal behavior pattern. I don't usually connect with people this quickly. Hopper sits on the edge of the bed, patting the space beside her. What's your normal pattern? Zara joins her, close enough that their thighs touch. Months of careful evaluation. Detailed analysis of compatibility. Pros and cons lists. Very methodical, very safe. How's that working out for you? Zara laughs ruefully. Well, my last relationship lasted 2 years and ended when I realized I'd been trying to convince myself I was in love with someone who was fundamentally wrong for me. So, not great. What made him wrong for you? He didn't see me, Zara says simply. He saw the version of me that fit into his life plan, successful, low maintenance, happy to be the supporting character in his story. He never asked about my dreams, never encouraged my photography, never seemed curious about who I was when I wasn't being his girlfriend. Hopper nods, understanding completely. Jessica used to introduce me as Harper, she does cute little drawings. Like my art was a hobby instead of the thing I cared about most in the world. Exactly. And the worst part is, I started to believe it. Started to think maybe my dreams were too big, too impractical, too selfish. Hopper turns to face her fully. For what it's worth, I think your dreams are exactly the right size. And I think you're brave as hell for finally choosing them over security. You think I'm brave? Zara asks, genuinely surprised. I think you're incredibly brave. You quit a job most people would kill for because it wasn't feeding your soul. You're moving to a new city where you don't know anyone except one friend. You're sitting in a hotel room with a woman you met 6 hours ago because you're following your instincts instead of your fear. If that's not brave, I don't know what is. Zara feels tears prick at her eyes. I've been so scared that I was making a huge mistake. Maybe you are, Hopper says gently. Maybe we both are. But what if we're not? What if this is what it looks like when you finally start making choices based on what you want instead of what you think you should want? Zara leans forward until their foreheads touch. What do you want, Hopper? Right now? I want to kiss you. I want to spend the night talking and laughing and discovering things about you that nobody else knows. I want to wake up tomorrow feeling like I'm moving towards something beautiful instead of just running away from something painful. And after tomorrow? Hopper pulls back slightly so she can look into Zara's eyes. I want to see what happens when two people who are brave enough to change their entire lives are also brave enough to try building something together. Zara's answer is to close the distance between them, pressing her lips to Harper's in a kiss that's both tender and electric. It's a kiss that tastes like possibility and coffee and the particular sweetness of taking a leap of faith. When they break apart, both breathing slightly heavier, Zara whispers, I want that too. They spend the next hour talking in the way that only people who've just discovered each other can talk, with the urgency of trying to share entire life stories in compressed time. They're curled up together on the hotel bed, still fully clothed but touching constantly, as if they need the physical connection to believe this is really happening. Harper tells Zara about growing up in a small town in New Mexico, how she used to draw on every available surface until her parents finally accepted that this wasn't a phase. About her sister Maya, who's 2 years younger but somehow always been the wise one, who calls Harper every Sunday just to make sure she's eating enough vegetables and pursuing her dreams with equal vigor. Zara shares stories about her childhood in San Francisco, how her parents immigrated from Taiwan with nothing but determination and a belief that education could transform their children's lives. How she excelled at everything academic but always felt like she was performing someone else's idea of success. How she discovered photography in college and felt, for the first time, like she was speaking her own language. I have a confession, Zara says, tracing patterns on Harper's arm with her fingertip. I've been attracted to women before, but I've never acted on it. David wasn't just the wrong person, he was the wrong gender. Hopper feels a surge of protectiveness mixed with honor. How are you feeling about that? Terrified and exhilarated and like I'm finally being honest about who I am, Zara says. Is that weird? It's the opposite of weird. It's beautiful. Hopper kisses her forehead gently. Thank you for trusting me with that. Thank you for being worth trusting. They fall into comfortable silence, the storm outside finally beginning to calm. Through the hotel room window, they can see the first hints that the weather might be clearing. The lightning has stopped, and the rain has gentled from a torrential downpour to a steady shower.
Harper, Zara says softly. I'm scared about tomorrow.
About whether this feeling will survive daylight and reality, and the fact that we're both dealing with major life changes.
Harper tightens her arms around Zara. I'm scared too.
But I'm more scared of letting fear make my decisions for me.
I've done that too much already.
What if we're just rebound people for each other? What if this is just us avoiding dealing with our real problems?
Harper considers this seriously.
Maybe that's part of it. But I don't think that's all of it. I think sometimes the universe puts people in your path exactly when you need them, even if the timing seems all wrong.
You really believe that?
I believe that I've never felt as comfortable being myself with anyone as I do with you. I believe that every conversation we've had tonight has made me feel more like the person I want to be. I believe that whatever this is, it's worth exploring.
Zara nods, feeling some of her anxiety ease. Okay. So what do we do tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we get on our planes to Phoenix. We exchange numbers and addresses and all the ways to stay in touch. We're honest about the fact that we're both in messy transition periods and we don't know what we're doing.
And then we figure it out as we go. And if it doesn't work out?
Harper meets her eyes seriously. Then we'll have given each other the gift of feeling less alone during a scary time in our lives.
That's not nothing, Zara. That's actually everything.
Zara feels tears threatening again, but this time they're tears of relief rather than fear.
I can't believe I almost didn't talk to you today. What changed your mind?
You looked so absorbed in your sketching, like you were seeing something the rest of us were missing.
I wanted to see the world through your eyes.
Harper smiles, pulling Zara closer.
And now?
Now I think maybe we can see it together. They wake up tangled together as dawn light filters through the hotel room's heavy curtains. For a moment, neither of them moves, both wanting to preserve the peace of this in-between time before the day demands decisions and movement and the return to separate lives.
Harper is the first to speak, her voice rough with sleep. Good morning, beautiful.
Zara stretches, cat-like, and turns to face her.
Good morning. How did you sleep?
Better than I have in months.
You?
Like someone who finally feels safe, Zara says, then looks surprised at her own honesty. They spent the night talking and kissing and falling asleep in each other's arms, but they didn't rush into anything physical beyond that. There was too much to discover, too many words to share, too much emotional intimacy to build before adding that layer of complexity. Now, in the morning light, they're faced with the reality of separate flights and uncertain futures.
What time is your flight?
Harper asks, checking her phone.
11:30. Yours?
Noon. So we have a few hours. What do you want to do with them? Harper props herself up on her elbow, studying Zara's face in the soft light.
I want to have breakfast with you.
I want to walk through the terminal holding your hand and not caring who sees. I want to take a picture of us together so I have proof this really happened. And then I want to make concrete plans to see you again. Zara feels her heart swell with affection and hope.
All of that sounds perfect.
An hour later, they're sitting in an airport restaurant that's trying to be a cafe but mostly succeeds at being overpriced and slightly chaotic. But they're together, and Harper is sketching while Zara photographs their breakfast, both of them documenting this moment from their own artistic perspectives.
Can I see?
Zara asks, nodding toward Harper's sketchbook. Harper shows her the drawing, not just the plates of food or the scattered napkins, but the space between them, the way their hands rested near each other, Zara's gentle smile, Harper's own intense focus. It's a moment frozen, infused with the quiet magic of new connection.
Zara's eyes soften as she takes it in.
You really do see everything. Only when I'm looking closely, Harper replies, her gaze steady on Zara.
And I'm looking very closely at you.
Zara feels a familiar warmth spread through her. She raises her phone, positioning it to capture Harper's face.
Mind if I return the favor?
Harper shakes her head, a playful smile on her lips. Zara snaps the photo, Harper, with her auburn hair falling across her face, eyes crinkling at the corners, a faint smudge of graphite on her cheek.
It's candid, imperfect, and utterly captivating.
Proof, Zara says, showing Harper the image. For when we wonder if this was all a dream. They finish their breakfast, lingering over lukewarm coffee, the conversation now punctuated by comfortable silences. They discuss logistics, their voices low, planning their first meeting in Phoenix. My aunt's place is in North Scottsdale, but I'll be exploring all over. Where in Tempe is Sarah's place? Harper asks, pulling out a small notebook and a pen. Just off Mill Avenue, pretty central. She's got a great patio, Zara responds, leaning in to look at Harper's neat handwriting. We should definitely hit up the Desert Botanical Garden. You'd love the light there for sketching, and I could get some incredible macro shots. Done, Harper says, making a note. And there's this amazing art walk downtown Phoenix on the first Friday of every month. The next one is just a few days away. Perfect, Zara agrees, a genuine excitement bubbling up inside her. It's a date. The word hangs in the air, light and promising. They both smile, a quiet acknowledgement of the leap they're taking. The airport terminal is slowly coming back to life. The sky outside the massive windows is a brilliant, cloudless blue, washed clean by the storm. Announcements for rescheduled flights echo, sounding less apologetic and more optimistic. Harper and Zara walk hand in hand, their shoulders brushing. They don't care about the glances from other travelers, they are in their own world, a bubble of nascent hope. They arrive at Gate A23, Harper's gate, first. The boarding process for her flight is already beginning. This is it then, Harper says, her thumb stroking Zara's hand. A pang of separation anxiety, surprisingly sharp, hits her. Just for a little while, Zara reassures her, though her own voice wavers slightly. She reaches into her bag and pulls out a small, beautifully printed photograph, one she took from her Seattle portfolio, a striking black and white image of a lone figure walking into a vast, sun-drenched desert landscape. For your new apartment. A reminder of what lies ahead. Harper takes it, her fingers brushing Zara's. It's beautiful. Thank you. She pulls out a small, intricately folded drawing from her sketchbook, a quick, emotive sketch of Zara from this morning, lost in thought over her coffee cup, her hair slightly tousled. And this is for you. A reminder of the calm before the storm. She smiles. And the calm after. Zara unfolds the drawing, her eyes widening. It captures a fleeting vulnerability, an intimacy she hadn't realized she'd revealed. She looks up at Harper, a profound understanding passing between them. I'll text you when I land, Harper promises. And I'll text you when I'm on the ground, before I even get off the plane, Zara replies, a playful challenge in her eyes. They share a quick, tender kiss, a silent promise exchanged amidst the hustle of the boarding gate. Flight 1847 to Phoenix is now boarding all rows, the gate agent announces. Harper squeezes Zara's hand one last time, a lingering touch that speaks volumes. See you soon. Soon, Zara echoes, watching Harper walk toward the jet bridge, her auburn hair a vibrant splash of color against the neutral backdrop of the terminal. Harper glances back once, offering a small private smile before disappearing down the tunnel. Harper settles into her window seat. She pulls out her phone and immediately types a text to Zara, "Miss you already. Also, your drawing of me is ridiculously good." She looks out the window as the plane pushes back from the gate. The sky is a brilliant, unblemished blue, the sunshine almost blinding. A few minutes later, Zara is seated on her own plane, just 2 gates over. She gets Harper's text and smiles, her heart doing a little flutter she hasn't felt in years. She replies, "Ditto. And your photo of me just reminded me I need to do laundry." She looks out her own window as her plane begins to taxi. The sun catches the wet tarmac, making it shimmer like liquid gold. Harper's phone buzzes. She glances down, "Just kidding. Sort of. Can't wait to see you, Harper." Harper grins, typing back, "Can't wait to see you too, Zara. My aunt's giving me the grand tour of Scottsdale tomorrow. Maybe you can join for dinner." Zara's plane turns onto the runway, engines roaring to life. She quickly types, "Wouldn't miss it for the world. Text me the details." Harper watches her plane gather speed, the world outside blurring into streaks of color. The storm that had delayed everything, the storm that had brought them together, is now a distant memory, replaced by the clear promise of a new horizon. Zara's phone vibrates in her hand just as her plane lifts off, the ground falling away beneath them. Harper's last text, "It's a beautiful day for flying." Zara smiles, looking out at the vast, clear sky, the city shrinking beneath. The sun gleams off the plane's wing. It is, indeed, a beautiful day.